Welcome to part 2 of exploring the Congressional Bunker. Okay, let's take a quick look around this place before we move on. We did do a quick glance around, but again, let's just look down. You can see all these consoles here. And even down here you can see the dailies, or not dailies, but events that are available from the Enclave, Resource Drop, Robot Patrol, and Extermination Operation. They left space for 4 other operations. My hope is someday we'll get to see more stuff there. Now if we come through here, if we go up these stairs, we get back up to that area with the Enclave seal, and we can go to the production wing. But we can also look around here. That area is destroyed. Let's check out the medical bay. Okay, so we got a couple of medical protectrons walking around. We got a terminal there. We'll take a look at that now because this guy blocks it. For some reason it says military wing terminal. When you look at it, it's not that. Current patients. At this time, this section of the facility is operating on a self-serve basis. Please visit the medical kiosk to purchase any required medical supplies. Thank you for your understanding. Patient archives. First Lieutenant C. Mitchell. Medical status, deceased. Diagnosis, accidental exposure to serum. We'll see more about the serums here in a moment. Treatment procedure, observe and document only. Captain N. Jackson. Medical status, return to active duty. Diagnosis, fractured radius, left side. You can see from the electricity flickering at the bottom, we have that robot like inside of us at the moment. Treatment procedure, bone set, low-dose painkillers administered. Data lost, and General T. Harper. Medical status, deceased. Diagnosis, organ failure, acute radiation poisoning. Treatment procedure, resuscitation attempts unsuccessful. Additional notes, redacted per T. Eckhart. And we can actually listen to that. Surveillance recording 6.2.1. This is a later recording, but it doesn't really interfere with the last stuff that we're going to listen to, so we'll listen to it now.
Whitespring, automated recording 6.2.1.
Modus, what's happened?
We're terribly sorry, Mr. President. We brought him here as quickly as we could. General Harper's last moments were at least peaceful.
What? You're finished? He's still warm. Shock him again.
Sir, I don't believe that's wise.
Do it!
No response.
Again!
Sir, the General is dead.
Damn it! Modus, the bunker's promotion system. Can you override it?
No, sir.
So we'll need a new general to get into the silos.
Yes, sir.
Burn the body. Have all the unassigned soldiers rally that
Alright, so General Harper died. He was the last general that was loyal to Thomas Eckhart. The other ones died in the Purge early on that we listened to. So he needed a general to get into the automated silos of Appalachia. Without Harper, he was kind of up a creek without a paddle. We got the rest of the medical area here. A bunch of gurneys. We've got the chemistry stations here. Coming back into this room. We got another little office back in here. A whole bunch of consoles. And then right back out here we have the medical terminals here. Let's take a look. And you can see that you can buy, I think, just aid here in recipes. So you can buy things like antibiotics, all these other medications. And then if we go deep enough into it, you can see all the recipes that you can buy, including things like stim packs. So, alright. So we're done in the medical area. That's another way up to production, by the way. Go up the stairs. But along with that, there's the science wing. So let's take a look in here.
Hello, member. And welcome to the bunker's science wing. In this space, great minds once tinkered with the building blocks of life itself. We have managed to rebuild the fabrication system for one of their more interesting discoveries. the mutation serum. You may peruse our collection within at any of our science terminals. We do ask that you watch your step inside. There was a portion of the wing we were forced to demolish for health purposes. Rest assured, the whole space has been thoroughly sanitized. Several times.
Okay. So we go through here, and this is the destroyed part of the science wing. This is where the bioweapons laboratory was. So definitely don't want to go down there as it is. It'd be interesting to see it and read some of the information on the diseases that they had down here. Now this is the mutations lab. Got a chemistry bench there. Got a whole bunch of diagrams of monsters that you can find after the bombs. So they must have put these things together again after the bombs, because you even have like mole men right there. Super mutants, super mutant hounds, wendigos. Not sure. Feral ghouls probably, like a glowing one right there, I guess. Anyway, and a whole bunch of just mutated wildlife and things like that. Now if we come over here, we got a couple of terminals, and then along with that we have the science terminals. Let's take a look at what they sell here. So, nothing yet. There we go. Serums for 4,800 credits apiece. Now if we also look a bit further... Huh, I thought that they also had the recipes in here. Am I looking at the wrong thing here? I know you can buy the recipes. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing them here. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at these mutation serum terminals. Okay, so you can see all these different mutations that they have here, and then along with that we have some meeting transcripts and surveillance recordings. So let's take a look at these. Adrenal reaction. Initial findings. Initial subject showed signs of immediate atrophy and significant damage to musculature. Immense pain reported by several subjects. Others were incapable of speech. Subjects were nearly impossible to restrain physically, exhibiting a significant increase to strength in a brief period of time before death. Finalization. Nothing. Okay. Bird bones. Test subjects displayed significant atrophy to skeletal structure, decreased intelligence, and a loss of appetite. Heightened reflexes, attentiveness, and paranoia were also noted. Subjects were increasingly distressed at any change to environment and perceived threats in any nearby sudden movement or any loud noise. Okay, finalization. Nothing to see. Carnivore. Plant matter in any form ceased to contain nutritional value for the subjects and was frequently immediately vomited back up. Meat, on the other hand, appeared to provide all the necessary sustenance for the subjects, with no signs of malnutrition after several weeks of observation. Subjects were also able to consume raw meat with no apparent risk of foodborne illness. Additionally, subjects exhibited heightened awareness of meat and could detect it being prepared on the other side of the facility. Initial testing discontinued when subjects began suggesting researchers looked tasty. And nothing in finalization. We're going to stop checking finalization. Chameleon. Several initial subjects were completely lost as the serum effects were not anticipated to be permanent. They were only relocated after death, which apparently negated the serum's effects. Subsequent tests attempting to compensate for this resulted in many unintended consequences, such as floating limb syndrome, and one noted a case of subjects' internal organs failing to gain transparency. Ooh, that's creepy. Just see their intestines walking around. Okay. Eagle eyes. Early attempts to replicate this naturally occurring mutation were met with minimal success. Test subjects exhibited a significant increase in ocular size, which, without increase in corresponding ocular cavity enlargement, resulted in permanent blindness. Second-generation attempts at this serum resulted in photosensitivity, negating any benefits. Exposure to any light source, no matter how faint, resulted in extreme pain for the subjects. Third-generation formulas were discontinued when, despite the successful reduction in negative physical effects, over 70% of the test subjects exhibited behavior wherein they would become fascinated, even obsessed with certain images, and stare incessantly, forgoing all normal physical needs. Okay. Egghead. Initial test subjects exhibited massive cranial deformities which, coinciding with an overall loss of muscle tone, left them unable to properly function on a day-to-day basis. While some researchers felt this increased cognitive function was worth the impairment, it was decided that further test runs were needed. Interestingly, the enhanced mental abilities of early test subjects vastly decreased the time necessary to make revisions to the formula, marking this as the fastest trial-to-final process. Interesting. Electrically charged. All results of early test runs were lost when serum effects were underestimated. All recording equipment in the immediate area was rendered inert. Subjects died shortly after injection as results were permanent. Later test runs were more successful as the effects were dampened and the proper care was taken to add additional insulation to all testing and monitoring equipment. Note, despite its much later discovery and development, the grounded serum trials proved extremely helpful in finalization of this serum, as test subjects could be placed in close proximity to observe interactions. Okay. And let's see. Empath. Early physical benefits of serum testing were negated by the associated psychological effects. Several subjects committed suicide almost immediately, others were left in a catatonic state from which they did not recover. Subsequent trials were able to successfully mitigate the apparent physiological damage, but proved the need for particularly physically fit test subjects. Note, trial runs 4.3 through 5.2 indicated subjects with otherwise alarmingly high BI would be the best candidates for further study. As they are in short supply, additional tests were unable to investigate this phenomenon. Okay, grounded. Initial discovery of this mutation was significantly delayed due to what is now believed to be interference and/or absorption of electrical signals that are otherwise relied upon to detect mutations. As this serum began development while the electrically charged program was well underway, early progress was fast-paced. Later refinement of this serum proved more time-consuming than hoped, as electrical interference made the necessary delicate calibrations difficult. Okay. And we're down to the surveillance recording. Let's check the meeting transcripts first. Meeting transcript entry 1.3.2. Eckhart. Good morning, members. You all appear to be recovering well from the inoculations. These will be the first of many, I presume, so please don't push yourselves. There are fewer of us than I was hoping for, but that only means that every one of you is all the more precious to our success. From the most decorated virologists to the most dogged technicians, and all of you will be required if we are to reach our goal, the complete eradication of communism and those that practice it. Now business. Some of you have worked with me before this nightmare began, but let me reiterate for those that haven't, nothing is off limits. All lines of inquiry are open and available to our research here. You will be tasked, but should you find a promising strain of X or an effective technique for Y, you are to bring it to me directly, and if it helps us reach our goal, we will pursue it. Progress is the only measure of success. We cannot be slowed by the timidity of our past. Now I've given the initial research plans to the various laboratory leads. You should all meet, discuss, mingle. Modus will bring refreshments. Modus. Yes, Mr. Secretary. Eckhart. You're all going to be spending a lot of time together. Good to get the introductions out of the way now. Okay, and let's go ahead and listen to this surveillance recording 3.6.8.
Whitespring automated recording 3.6.8.
Hey, have you got a second?
Please don't tell me you've run out of samples again. The procedure changes after batch 6 was used up should have fixed those issues.
What? No, we're fine. It's just, some of us have been talking. Are we really sure about all of this?
The results speak for themselves, don't they? We've seen a 70+ increase in effectiveness just over the last trial run.
No, that's not what I mean. The whole thing, all of it. Mutation serums in general. Is this really a good idea?
You know that's not our decision to make. We have orders.
I know we do. I understand that. I'm just saying, what's the end result here? We're potentially creating something that's, well, it's not really human anymore, is it?
That is a vast oversimplification of the process.
Look, I want to be wrong about this, okay? I want to just do the research and be able to sleep at night. But we're supposed to be saving humanity, not replacing it.
I understand your concerns. I assure you I will raise them with the Secretary. Just go back to work now, finish up the current run, and I'll let you know when something is decided.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. appreciate it.
Yes, I need to speak to someone about repurposing a member of my team. Yes, I'll hold.
I was just thinking about it, and likely the reason we can't buy these serum recipes yet is because we have not actually completed the main quest yet. Anyway, let's take a look at Mutation Serum Terminal H through Z. But yeah, that gives you a little flavor of the work environment for the Enclave scientists here. Healing Factor. Naturally occurring examples of this mutation were discovered to the detriment of military forces in early explorations of the Appalachia area. Initial attempts to replicate this were universally considered disastrous, with subjects exhibiting spontaneous tissue growth and in some cases presenting with fully formed limbs or internal organs. Later trials resulted in more reliable results, but a stable state was not reached until much later in the process. At this point, I'm going to bring up something that I was planning on bringing up at the very end of this section, which is that this stuff here, these mutation serums, they were not only worked on by the Enclave here at the Whitespring, they were also actually worked on at Vault 96. And if you're interested in that, you can check out my lore video on Vault 96, which I'll link here. But it's just, it's kind of crazy because they had the exact same issues with a healing factor kind of a serum at Vault 96. Herbivore. Initial findings. Initially dismissed as wildlife adapting to a new environment, this mutation was noted by scouting parties, but was not considered worth pursuing. Later discussions suggested that a serum based on this mutation could prove beneficial to military personnel deployed in the field for long periods of time. Early trials resulted in subjects presenting a total rejection of any meat-based foodstuffs, to the point that the scent of cooked or raw meat resulted in immediate vomiting. Note, early trials showed mild psychological effects in addition to physical. Subjects presented a calm, docile demeanor, ultimately deemed... Okay, I guess that's it. Herd mentality. Early testing was abruptly discontinued when, during the end of the first trial run, several subjects were placed in the room together. From the lead doctor's notes, it was intense. You could feel something change in the room. The three of them looked at each other for a few seconds and then just started babbling simultaneously. It wasn't until later that we realized they'd somehow managed to develop an entirely new language inside of 20 minutes. Body language became increasingly agitated, they seemed upset, like they were trapped. When we sent men in to calm things down, they were overpowered in moments. If we hadn't had the failsafe systems in place, later trial runs used a significantly distilled version of the serum, and the test subjects were kept isolated for the duration of the experiments. Okay, that's interesting. Marsupial. This is the one that I use all the time. Initial trial runs resulted in significant abdominal deformation, displacement of internal organs, and massive internal hemorrhaging. Subsequent formulas reduced the debilitating physical effects, but marked reduction in cognitive function could be a problem. The development team suggested abandoning this particular serum, but it was decided the potential advantage to military personnel in the field was too great to pass up. It allows you to jump really high. Let's see. Plague Walker. This particular serum proved one of the most challenging to develop due to the disastrously increased safeguards necessary to prevent the spread of disease throughout the entire facility. The initial tests were thought to be unsuccessful, with the subject showing no outward signs of change. Only after accidental exposure to the rhinovirus did one subject's condition manifest, resulting in an unfortunate incident that killed several members of the research team. Progress on the serum was uncharacteristically slow due to the extensive precautions put into place to prevent further incidents. Despite the setback, however, it did clearly illustrate a path forward for future formulas. Okay. Scaly skin. And let's see, this mutation was incidentally overlooked as a more severe version of eczema. It was only after repeated encounters in the wild that our military personnel insisted a closer look was necessary. Early tests were promising, but debilitating for the subjects. So much energy was channeled into the production and maintenance of the dermal modifications that the body was left with little energy for anything else, essentially negating any benefits provided. Later refinements reduced the severity of lethargy experienced by the subjects, but drowsiness and sporid apathy are still frequent side effects. Speed Demon. A unique case among the serum trials, initial subjects expired within seconds, exhibiting major trauma to the body on scale previously unknown. It was only after reviewing slowed-down footage of the initial tests that the team realized test subjects were essentially shredding their own bodies when attempting to move. The incident happened so fast as to be nearly indiscernible to the naked eye. Highly diluted solutions were used for subsequent tests, with doses increased slightly until physical limitations were reached. Talons. One of the earliest experiments, this serum was developed to give military personnel an edge in hand-to-hand combat. Initial trials were highly successful, but at the total loss of fine motor control. Subjects often suffered accidental self-inflicted wounds and required assistance with simple tasks such as eating and showering. Refinements to the serum attempted to balance the efficacy in combat with non-combat complications. Twisted muscles. This mutation was originally noticed early in the process of the attempt to adapt bird bone serum. It was noted that in countering the negative effects of that mutation, an opposite reaction could be achieved. Thus, the research was spun off into its own development process. While muscle tone was drastically increased, time and effort was necessary on the subject's part to be able to move and react without overcompensating. Eventually, it was determined that some loss of fine motor control was an acceptable trade-off, and the serum was stabilized. Okay. Unstable isotope. Initially recognized shortly after the Plague Walker discovery, the decision was made to delay any significant work on adapting this mutation. Given the difficulties encountered with that other research, this seems to have been the correct choice. Difficult to develop without massive collateral damage, extra measures were taken to ensure the safety of all scientific monitoring equipment and personnel, and, where possible, the safety of the subject as well. In hindsight, perhaps the results of the Plague Walker experimentation were overcompensated for. Early trials of the unstable isotope serum were so weak that subjects needed to be injured severely enough to risk death in order to provoke a reaction. Okay, and that's it for that. Surveillance recording entry 5.4.8.
Whitespring automated recording 5.4.8.
So, you're telling me we're responsible for this thing? It's what, a mutated bird? Some kind of vulture or something?
Mr. Secretary, based on the physiology, we're assuming something originating from the Chiroptera order before undergoing changes. That's, sir. But it's not just a result of radiation, sir. The specimen was inadvertently exposed to our biochemical test last year, considered a failure at the time.
How dangerous is it?
We're still establishing that, sir. Its mere presence seems to contaminate the immediate surroundings with a...
Can we make more?
Sir?
Can we reproduce this for the purpose of additional study?
With all due respect, sir, this potentially represents a grave threat to the personnel on site. And I'm not sure if this is...
I'm not asking for concerns. I want results. Do whatever you have to do. Keep this thing, study it, and report all your findings directly to me. Are we clear? And keep it off-site, where you found it, preferably. One of those old AMS mining complexes, yes?
Yes, sir.
And for now, let's not burden any of the officer corps with worrying about this. Understood.
Okay, so that was basically Eckhart learning of the creation of the Scorchbeasts out of the old AMS mine out here that became the Glassed Cavern. Horrible stuff that happened there. I don't think I even really need to say too much more about that, although it is interesting that when he starts off he says, what is this, some sort of bat or vulture? And that was actually the original design of the Scorchbeast, to my understanding, was that it was not a bat, but some sort of giant vulture, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, though, I think we're done here in this part of the lab. I just do want to note that the Enclave personnel were so reduced by the fact that so few got here, and then after that, so many were killed in the Purge, that it's definitely the case, in my mind at least, that all of those test subjects were actually kidnapped from the Wasteland. They just would not have had enough Enclave members to run those tests on, given the sheer number of people that they lost before they even started running these serum tests. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and leave behind the science wing and start heading over to the military wing. There's one spot we're going to check out before then. because the military wing, well, it's not exactly our final target, because again, we still have to go back, check out the recordings in the cabinet room, and then the recording that's actually up in the entry hall. But we're gonna go take a look at this area, resort exit. Come through here. You can see they got a little security office here. A couple more bot pods here. We can come through here. And here we go. Okay. This seems as good a point as any to point out the fact that the Whitespring bunker here, the congressional bunker, is based on the real-world bunker that is beneath the Greenbrier Resort in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. And of course, the Whitespring Resort is itself
Today's security status is
an in-game version of the Greenbrier Resort, and looks a lot like it. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and head back into the bunker itself through this hidden entrance. That should do it for part 2. See you in part 3.